Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now I'm taking a look at a game called W.A.R, or War. The reason I said it is separate letters is because the title is spelt out like an abbreviation, or an acronym, as it's got full stops between the W and A, and there's also a full stop after the R, which is typical of some instances of abbreviations. A full stop being a period if you're in the United States. I won't go into what a period can mean here in the UK, because I don't think that'd be very pleasant to listen to, but we won't go into that. But on to the game. So basically, you've got to destroy all ground installations, and you can actually, if you score enough points, you can swap points to gain some extra weapons. So let's start this. War Second. Why is it called War Second on that previous screen? Never mind. Not really keen on that typeface. I mean, for the most part I can read it, but those numbers, I mean, I only know that number below for defined keys is a 4 because it goes in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But had that 4 been by itself, I wouldn't have had a chuffing clue what number that was supposed to be. It would have looked like a 7. But I know it's a 4 because of where it is in the list. Defined controls up, down, left, right. So I've just done my usual QZIP, and I've got M for fire. I could have space, but I've decided to give the spacebar a bit of a rest. Let's start this. So we've got this menu here, War by Kits. Kit. No, it can't be kit because that doesn't look like the T's elsewhere. So that's where you start. That's a nice parallax style effect in the top right to display there. Ship status. Not sure what that's all about. Oh, that's the number of lives, I think. Score. So that's what you can use to buy things like extra ships here and extra weapons. So you got multi-laser, dual laser, rear phaser, and side photons. Transmission ends. Okay, so what's a transmission when it's at home? I've heard of a transmission which has an SS rather than that last T, but there. Yeah. Now entering sector schematics. In other words, we're fighting inside a ZX Spectrum by the looks of things. Oh, God. Not only is that playing area pretty titchy, but another problem is, because of the usual case with Spectrum monochrome and vertical scrollers, it's really hard to see what's going on, and the shots you fire are about 1 micron thick, so oh God. And the rate of fire is ridiculously pitiful. Why did schematic have an H at the end? Did these people not know how to spell? Oh, for God's sake, you can't fire fast enough. I'm hoping you can actually see what's going on. I can only just about see what's going on. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God. Strafing run successful. How many points did I get? 2,100. Have I got enough to buy a... Well, I can buy the multi-laser. That's all I can afford, though. Right, let's see what this multi-laser is like. And I've got 2 lives left. Well, now I'm fighting above a Commodore 64. Okay, so what's multi about this laser then? Because I can't see anything multi about it. It just seems to be one shot going upwards. So Now I'm fighting inside a Commodore 64. Oh, for God's sake, I can't see a goddamn thing. Let's try that again. Of course, I've lost that multi-laser, which it didn't look like I ever even had. Why can't you fire more frequently? Oh, for goodness sake. Why can't you fire more frequently? There seems to be no rhyme nor reason as to... You can't fire quickly enough. Even when I got that extra weapon in at the end of my first successful strafing run unsuccessful. Oh, shut you, gob. Does that cost you a life? I can't tell. I've got 4 lives left, but oh, well, I've got to do this crap again. Oh, I can barely see what's going on. Oh, I shot it. Oh, God. What's actually causing that smart bomb effect? What hit me? I didn't see anything, but then that's not surprising considering the problems that monochrome has on vertically scrolling shooters on the Spectrum. Successful that time. How many points have I got this time? 7,800, I believe that is. So I can actually afford a bit more this time. Let's try the dual laser. What's going on? Oh, that's 3,500. That 3 looks too much like a 7. Why did they have to use a typeface like this? I can barely read some of the text. 10 grand for an extra ship. Right, I'm above the Commodore 64. God, I can actually see that this is a double this time. I still can't bloody fire quickly enough. Mission ends. One more go. I'm really not impressed with this. And when I was actually looking up, I came across a review of this whilst I was looking for something else. And for some reason, it got a frigging 9 out of 10 when it was first released. They must have been paid to say that. This is absolutely god-awful. You can't see a goddamn thing half the time because of the monochrome graphics. You can't fire quickly enough. What? You can't... You'd sometimes die for no apparent reason, like I just did there. I mean, did something shoot me? I can't see what's going on. What? I barely even had a chance to do anything there, and I died instantly. Why does it have to put you? Why is it putting me so far up the screen when I respawn? See, look, I couldn't do anything about that. I was totally out of control. Well, because that was so quick, I'm going to give it one more turn. I will end whatever happens this time because I've had enough of this. This is absolutely shit. Oh, for crying out loud, this is blooming awful. I cannot get over how small that playing area is. The Spectrum can easily cope with having a larger playing area than this. Yeah, the graphics around it may look very nice, but... Oh, God, I can't see anything very easily. I'd really love to know what's causing that effect. Okay, so I'm presuming oh God, I'm presuming strafing run successful. How many points did I get? 3 lives left. 4,700. Yeah, I can afford the dual laser again. That's about all I can afford. I mean, I'm not. Spelling's atrocious at times. And schematic. Strafing run. I mean, this is better than that crappy syntax game that I did a while back, but that's really not saying much. Well, this level's not quite so visually busy as the previous one. There's not quite so much of the problem of not being able to see what's going on, although it's still not great. Oh, bloody hell, I can't take that anymore. So that's W.A.R, or W.A.R, released in 1986 by Martech. This is the ZX Spectrum version, and it seems like it also came out for the Amstrad CPC, BBC Micro, and Commodore 64. But as for this Spectrum version, I just can't stand it. Graphics. Well, the decoration around the playing area is really nicely done, I have to admit. It's got nice use of colour and gets around the most of the Spectrum's attribute problem. However, the actual playing area is titchy. It's got the same problem of that plagued vertical scrollers on the Spectrum, that when it's all in monochrome it can be really hard to see what's happening very easily, and sadly W.A.R is no exception in that regard. And the problem's even worse in that than it is in Gemini Wing, because at least in Gemini Wing many of the enemies were a bit better defined and didn't, although there are quite a few that did blend in a bit too well with the backgrounds, it wasn't quite so severe an issue because of the sprites generally being better drawn and better animated, which helped them to stand out a bit better. Here, though, it's not so good at the best of times, and with all the complicated chipsets and circuit board backgrounds, it really does quite badly interfere with the sprites, and is too much of a visual impairment to make the game particularly enjoyable to look at. And there's a real problem with not knowing what you can fly over and what you can't, especially if it's something in the middle of the screen where if you respawn you fly straight into it. So graphics aren't particularly impressive, all things, when you could take all of that into account. Sound. I know this is a 48K Spectrum game, but that sound is absolutely pathetic. It's weak. It's got no oomph to it. It's, even for a 48K Spectrum, I've heard better sounding shoot 'em ups than that. Even for a game of that particular vintage, there's no excuse for having such weedy sound effects. And I mean, it's like, that's pathetic. Give us something more substantial. And gameplay. Well, as I said, you can barely see what's happening at the best of times due to the complicated backgrounds and the spectrum's monochrome, meaning that it's really hard to see what's going on. And as I also explained, it's a bit hard to tell what you can fly over and what you can't. You can't fire anywhere near quickly enough. You sort of fire about 4 or 5 shots if you're lucky, and then there'll be a long pause before you can even fire one more shot again. And then there just seems to be no rhyme nor reason as to how many you can fire in a burst. Sometimes I was only able to fire one, and I had one of those pregnant pauses. I don't get it. The typeface is a bit tricky to read at times. Most of the letters aren't too bad, but some of the numbers are quite hard to differentiate, such as that example where I mistook a 4 for a 7. I mean, you can see the 4 in that list that you can see on the screen now. I only know it's a 4 because of where it is, as I said earlier. But had that been isolated, I could have easily thought that was a 7. And in fact, in some ways, even that 3 for the which is just above that 4, looks a bit like a 7, a continental 7. So that typeface needed a bit more thought gone into it to make it more legible. And I also noticed some spelling mistakes, as you saw, like straffing instead of strafing, and schematic instead of schematic. Yeah. And your ship moves so slowly that that some of the things are really hard to avoid, like those really fast ships that you saw snaking their way down the screen. And it didn't seem like you could actually buy an upgrade to do something about that. Yeah, so I'm really not that impressed with W.A.R. or W.A.R. or however it's supposed to be pronounced. I'm going to give this game, well, this Spectrum version, 3 out of 10. The fact you can barely see anything, the fact your ship moves so slowly, the fact you can't tell what you can fly over and what you can't, and the fact that everything's such a visual mess, it just renders the game nigh on unplayable. So 3 out of 10, I'm afraid. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. Catch you on another one soon. Texie88 out.